Hey guys, this is Wileen Benson, and I have been talking to some of the people that are on my gratitude call and some of the people that I interact with on a regular basis. And I'm finding kind of a common thread, and this is something that I've actually experienced myself. And so I just thought it would be cool if we did some Facebook Live videos. And today, I just want to kind of introduce this topic, and then every day for the next 30 days, I'm going to introduce maybe a different subject that will help us be able to get past this question of what's wrong with me. So I want to give just a little bit more detail on what I mean by that. I've been talking to a lot of people about like goals that they've set, and for some reason they're not taking action on those goals. And like I said, I've been experiencing this too. I've had some things that I know for sure I need to accomplish and that I want to accomplish, and it's in my heart. It's something that's even bigger than me and that I'm super excited to accomplish. But for whatever reason, I just have felt like there's something holding me back. And I think a lot of times we just lack the faith to take a step outside of our comfort zone and to move forward, even though we know maybe even what we need to do. And we just are frozen. We're just stopped because we're not sure that we're good enough. We're not sure if we're going to be able to accomplish it or be successful or whatever. So I wanted to share some of the subjects that people have been wanting to accomplish in their lives, and the ones that keep showing up the most, and to see if these apply to you. Starting or building my own business. A lot of people are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. They have a business, but they just have not had the faith to really step out in a big way and accomplish what they need to have that business be successful. Another one that comes up quite often is to be financially free. A lot of times people even know what it takes to be financially free, and they just are not able. I don't even think it's that they're not willing. I think they're willing, but they're just not physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is, able to take that step outside of their comfort zone and to become something bigger or different than what they have been in the past. Another one that comes up quite often is weight loss. People want to lose weight, or they want to have a more toned body or gain weight, whatever it is. They want to have a body that fits who they are, who they really know that they are as their highest and best. But they're not able to take those steps to be able to do it. And again, we all know, what it takes to lose weight or to gain weight or to gain muscle or whatever it is that we want. We know what we have to do, but we're not taking action on that. Another one that comes up is fulfilling purpose. There are people who even know what their purpose is. They're pretty clear. Even some of the people that I've done purpose calls with, where we've actually gotten really super clear and made some purpose statements, mission statements, vision statements, calling statements. They know who they are, who they get to serve, how to do that, but they're not taking action on it. And so really what it boils down to is that a lot of us are living mediocre lives, and we know what we need to do to get out of that, to step outside of that comfort zone that's really not comfortable, but we're not able to do it. So I want to address this. I feel like this is like an epidemic. There's so many people that could be making such a huge difference in the world, could be making a difference within their families, could be providing for their families in a higher way. I just had a conversation with a guy last night who he feels like he's been stuck. When he looked back over the last 5 or 6 years of his business, it's been the same income. He's been stuck at a ceiling for quite some time, and he knows that he's capable of more, but he's just not willing or not able to take those action steps. So this is just an introduction, and I appreciate all of you, those of you who are watching. Just by asking that question yesterday of what's wrong with me, I know what actions to take, and I'm not taking those actions. And I'm just super excited to see what we get to learn over this next 30 days. I'm going to be doing a video a day addressing this subject of why humans tend to hold back or procrastinate or just whatever. They don't take action when they know what they need to do. They know what the situation is, they know what the problem is, and they even know kind of what the solution is, but not taking action. And this morning I had some really awesome insight. Just getting ready for church. I was down doing my hair, and I just had some amazing insight. And the thought came to me to trust thyself. And it came to me specifically that way. Instead of like trust yourself, it was trust thyself. And I want to share with you why. So the problem that I see is that when we step out of our comfort zone, when we're stepping up to a new level, doing something different in our lives, that we really don't know. We don't know what the answer is. And, we might think we have an idea, or maybe we saw somebody else do this. And so we think, we know, well, we saw this person do this. And so maybe that's what we should do. But we really don't know if that specifically is the best answer for us. And so there is a problem there when we step out of our comfort zone and we're stepping into a new way of being, that we really don't know. We don't know what the results are going to be. So the solution to that, something I've discovered, is to get really open and ask questions to God. He's my highest source of information. He's my mentor. And so I'll just be really open to asking questions and being open to receive those answers. And they always, always come. Every time I've asked a question, I have received an answer, and it is an inspired next step of something that I can do that day. May not be able to be 100% completed that day, but I can take action on it. I can get the ball rolling. So that's the solution, is just sitting and quietly and asking a question to find the solution to the problem that we have of not knowing what to do as we're stepping into this new way of being. So the problem then, once we get those answers from our highest source, which we should know that we can trust 100%, but the problem is that we don't trust. We don't trust that answer that we're receiving, and then we'll go try to get confirmation from a human being. We'll get that answer, and then we'll go to our mentor, we go to our husband, or we'll go to somebody that we know who maybe did this before, and say, this is what I think I'm going to do, what do you think? And the problem with asking for confirmation is, first of all, it's saying that we don't trust. I don't trust the source of inspiration, or I don't trust myself for receiving that inspiration. And so that's where thyself came in, was thy. When we pray to God and when we ask questions to Him, we're speaking to them in a reverence, speaking to Him in a form of reverence, and speaking in those kind of like higher level terms. And I believe that those inspired next steps come to my higher version of myself too. It's the highest and noblest version of me, that spiritual intelligence that we all have. And so that's where thyself comes in. Trust thyself. If I'm trusting my brain, there's a lot of stuff going on inside of my brain. There's past experiences. There might be some limiting beliefs. There might be some things that are there that I can't trust. And so I don't go there. I go to my heart. My heart is a receptacle of pure truth. And so if you want to be able to move forward and take action on those next steps, once you get them, once you understand what those next steps are, is to trust yourself, trust your heart, trust that higher version of yourself, trust that spirit intelligence, that light that is present in all of us. Boy, I didn't realize I was going to be crying on this call. But I just wanted to share that with you, that this is a system that I do every single morning. I call it my daily GPS. It's gratitude, prayer, and scripture. And throughout this next 30 days, I'm sure I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about those different principles, the gratitude, the prayer, and the scripture. But I do want to encourage you to take a moment today. Today's Sunday. Take a moment today and just connect with your highest source of information. Ask those questions that you have been just dying to know. What is my next step? How can I take action on this? Ask those questions and you will receive an answer. And that's your solution. And then trust yourself, trust thyself, trust your higher version of you that is connecting with that highest source. And then take action, because that is showing trust. It is the action that you take is the faith that you do trust the information that you've gotten and you've moved forward, that you're moving forward. So that's my thoughts for today. I would love to be open to any comments that you have. Go ahead and share, any comments that you have in the comments below, and I'll contact you or I'll answer them right there in the comment thread. Thank you so much for listening in. In the comments, I would love for you to share times maybe when you did receive an inspired thought and you went to somebody and asked and maybe doubted and didn't take action, or maybe sometime when you did receive those inspired thoughts and you took action immediately, and how that turned out. So I think this would be a really fun conversation for us to start. We are going to be talking about another reason or another way that we sometimes don't move forward. We don't take action when we know what the action step is, when we know what we need to do. And that is being content. And I want to share with you, there's kind of an authentic way to be content, and there's a counterfeit way to be content. And the word that I'm going to use as the counterfeit for content is settling. Sometimes we think, oh, I don't want to be content with what I have because I want to grow. I want to be able to change. I want to be able to do something different. So I'm going to call that being settling when we are content to the point where we can't change or we can't move forward. Okay? But being content with something is also being grateful for it. It's like looking around your house, looking around, with your family and just all the things that we have been blessed with, and just saying, wow, I am super grateful for everything that I have. I'm content with what I have in my life. And yesterday I mentioned that I have a process that I do on a daily basis called my daily GPS, and it stands for gratitude, prayer, and scripture. And I'm going to be sharing that with you today. Just a little piece of it. It's actually a 7-step process, but we're not going to do that. We're keeping this video kind of short today. And so I'm just going to share with you actually 4 of those steps. So you'll get the GPS, plus you're going to get an extra one. Okay. So this idea of being content, as we're talking about like taking action and moving forward when we know what we need to do. How can you be content with something and still take action? And how can you use that being content to motivate you to take action? So that's where this GPS process comes in. Because like I mentioned before, when you're content in an authentic way, in a really good way that's productive, it means that you're grateful. So that's the G in the GPS, is gratitude. Now, I do a gratitude call every single morning, and it's a podcast. And so if you don't know how to have gratitude on a daily basis and you want to join us, we would love to have you join us live on our daily gratitude call. If you want to find out more about that, maybe I'll just post a link. I have a Facebook group that's called Breakthrough with Gratitude that anybody can join. It's free to the public. It's open. So we'd love to have you join there. That's how I start the day with gratitude. And we have a lot of people that join on our call live every day. We have more people that are listening to the podcast every day. And then we're also sharing our gratitude on that Breakthrough with Gratitude page. So it's a great way to start out the day in gratitude. And when we're in gratitude, we are definitely content with what we've been given. We're counting our blessings. We're so grateful for what we have. And I believe that when we're content, then it gives us power to change. Because if we're not content with something, then we're grumbling about it and we're like putting, blame or something, out there that the universe, God, some other person created this for me, then it takes our power away. As long as we're grateful for it and we see that we had a hand in it, then we have the power to change it. So that's the very first thing, is finding gratitude, being content with what you have, and recognize that you had a hand in it. And because you had a hand in it, you also have a hand in being able to change it. Okay? The next part, the P for prayer, that's how I end my process in the morning. I end with a prayer after I have expressed gratitude for everything that I do have. And we're going to be talking about the scripture. I've flip open my book to, I'll just pick a book of scripture and I'll just close my eyes and flip it open, flip the pages until it feels right, move my hand over the page, and then there's like a little light in my mind. I can just see this little light around a section in the page, and I'll go there and point my finger, open my eyes, and the word that I'm pointing to is significant, and also the scripture. So I'll read that scripture, and it always, 100% of the time, gives me guidance for the day, or it's confirmation of what I'm already doing, what the choices that I'm already making. So I encourage you to try that. That's the S. And then the fourth piece that I'm going to give you today is A, ask. So I don't know if I really need to call that A, but asking, what is the next step? I'm super content. I'm so grateful for what I've already accomplished. Now what's next? So asking what those next steps are, and then listening, just like we talked about yesterday, trusting that inspiration that you're getting on a daily basis of what is next for you, what you're going to move forward with, and then having enough faith to be able to take action, just like we talked about yesterday. So that is, and then after I've gotten my answer to the question that I asked of what's next, after I've read my scripture that has given me confirmation or new instruction, divine tutoring of what I get to do next, and I've expressed gratitude, then the final piece for me is to just express gratitude once again in prayer and just saying, thank you so much for all of this new information that you've given me. Thank you for the blessings that I already have. And thank you for the ability to be able to change, for the ability to be able to step out and do something different. And I just end with gratitude. So gratitude is a really pivotal piece, I believe, in helping us move forward and take action on those things that we know are going to be good for us and are going to create what we want. Looking into this question of why, when we know what actions to take, why do we not take action? And today we had an awesome gratitude call. If you're interested in participating in those gratitude calls, you definitely can. Those are 7 a.m. Mountain Time every morning, and everybody's welcome. It's free, and we'd love to have you join us. But if that time doesn't work for you, it is actually a podcast. So you can look me up on iTunes or Spotify, Google Podcast, what was the other one? Stitcher, SoundCloud, any of those platforms. You can find that gratitude podcast. It's called Daily Gratitude Call. And you can either search it by that name or you can search it by my name, Wileen Benson, and you can find those podcasts. You can always find them on my blog on my website, WileenBenson.com too. So those are all just free resources for you to participate in. And today on our gratitude call, we focused on gratitude for my value. And it was super awesome for me. I shed some tears in the beginning because I just felt just so much love in my heart for my Savior and my Heavenly Father for the gift that He has given us, that they have given us, all of us, of having a light within us. They sent us here to earth with this wonderful light that we get to carry with us. And it helps us to resonate with truth. It helps us to know what's true, what we can trust, and we can always trust that. So today, the belief that sometimes comes up that stops us from being able to take action on the things that we know we can do to make our lives better is that we believe that we don't deserve it. You know, maybe we haven't worked hard enough, or maybe we've done something in the past that, you know, that limits us from being able to receive any good things. Whatever the belief is, a lot of times I find that people just feel like they don't deserve it. And these are subconscious beliefs. These are things that, you know, we don't normally like acknowledge and say, oh yeah, hey Sarah, thank you for being on. Oh yeah, we don't just say out loud, I don't deserve to have good things in my life. But these are subconscious beliefs that really run our lives. But I want to share with you some of the thoughts that I shared on the gratitude call this morning. If an insurance company was going to value a piece of art, and I'm an artist, my whole family are artists, and I know a lot of different artists, and I know that this is true, that when you're valuing art, especially like after the artist has passed away, the way that they value it is they take into consideration the materials that it took to create that piece of art. So the paint, the canvas, the brushes, you know, whatever, the clay, if it's a sculpture or whatever it is, they'll take the value of those materials and they add to it the value of the time that the artist put in to create the piece of art. So they might value a piece of art at, you know, $300 or $400, when in reality, especially if the artist has passed away, this piece of art is priceless. There's no price that you could put on this that would be enough. And it's very disappointing, I know, sometimes for people that lose pieces of art in like a fire, or if they're trying to sell art, to like if the artist has passed away and they want to sell the art, they can't get the value that they're asking for it, because these are masterpieces. They're things that are irreplaceable. And that's the way that I view myself, and that I want to invite you to begin seeing yourself as an irreplaceable, infinite value piece of art, masterpiece. There really is no replacing you. You are 100% unique. There's nothing, there's no one, nothing on this earth that could replace or that could do or be who you are. Also, something was shared on our gratitude call today. Mary shared that we kind of have our zone that we get into, that this is, what we love and this is what we're passionate about, and we have kind of this zone. And I feel also that we have kind of a circle of influence that only we have. And that piece of real estate, that circle of influence that we've been given to shine in and to really be able to be ourselves fully and fully express this wonderful piece of art, this wonderful masterpiece that we are. If we don't step into that, then nobody else will, because this was a zone, this was a circle of influence that was given only to us. And so if you ever have that thought that I don't deserve it, I want you to remember the value, the infinite value that is placed on you. That I don't know if everybody on this watching this believes in Christ, but I consider Christ my Savior, and He put enough value on my life that He was willing to give His life. That I just feel that infinite value that He places on us. And for me to be able to embrace that and accept that is just an expression of gratitude for the sacrifice that He provided for me, and the light that He gave me when I left my heavenly home. He sent me down here with a light within, His light that I can turn to anytime. And that light is confirmation that you have value and you have worth. As I was preparing to do this Facebook Live today, I was thinking of a couple of the chapters in the new book that I'm writing. And well, I have written, it's done. It's on, it's in editing right now, and I've been making a few changes, with the edits that the editor has suggested. But as I've been reviewing this book, there are several chapters in there. In fact, every one of the gateways is just confirmation of your value. The very first one is the gateway of faith. And one of the things I talk about in the book is that to be able to step through this gateway of faith, you have to be willing to have faith that you are enough, to have faith that you are, that you have it in you to be able to accomplish whatever it is that you desire, whatever you're passionate about creating. And I want to just give you an invitation today to go to my website, WileenBenson.com, and find my book there. There is a description there, and hopefully there's a video. I think there's a video. If not, I will post it here, or I'll make sure it gets posted so that you can find out a little bit more about that book. And if you have any doubts about your value, or if you're having a hard time having faith that you are enough, you're up to the challenge to become the person that you know that you can become, I invite you to pre-order that book. It'll be available in a month or two, but those of you who pre-order it, I have been sending out special little sneak peeks to those people. And so I would love to have you be a part of that and to be able to get some of those sneak peeks. So today I want to share with you a reason, quote, reason that I wouldn't take action in the past, even when I knew that it was time to take action. And that was because I was afraid to get locked in. I was afraid if I made a decision and it was like the wrong one, later on down the road, I'd be like so far off my path that it would take forever to get back to the path that I was really supposed to be on. So I was really afraid of making a mistake, but afraid to get locked into this decision, proclaim to everybody that this is what I'm doing and this is the end result that I'm after, and go for it, like throw my heart into it and be 100%, when I wasn't 100% sure if later on down the road if I was gonna change my mind. So that's what I want to talk about today. I had an experience a few years ago that I want to share with you that will hopefully give you confidence to take action, even when you're not 100% sure if you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life. And I know there's probably been a lot of decisions that you've made in the past where in the moment it was like, yes, I'm doing this. And then later on you're like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I know I've done that several times. But when I was sitting in a group mastermind, and they asked the question, what do you want? And so I'm just going to pose that question to you. What do you want? And usually the answer is something fairly superficial, and we need to ask a few more questions to get down to something that you can be really emotionally connected to. And for me, that question that I ask my clients is, why is that important to you? Why would it be important to you that you get that? And when you ask that question, why, and you ask it over and over. So for example, if the answer with what do I want, if it's I want to help people, that's a very typical one that I get on the very first question. And again, that's a really good thing, but it's superficial. We don't know how you're going to help these people. You don't know, we don't know what your role is in helping these people or what they're going to get out of you helping them. So then asking that question, why is that important to you? Why is it important to help people? Then we start getting into, well, it's important for me to help people because it fulfills me. Okay, and that's great. It's great that you're fulfilled, but why is it important that you're fulfilled? So if you kind of understand my the process here is just constantly asking that question, why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Until you get to a point where you become emotionally connected with something, and it's usually something bigger than you. So it's more than just I'm going to be fulfilled, but it's something that really changes the world. And that is the place where, when you find that emotional connection, that then you know enough that you can actually lock yourself in and you can take action towards that. You can commit and throw your heart into it. So I want to share with you a few years ago when that question was asked of me, and I started getting really deep into why is this important to me. And the vision came to me of having a retreat space, like a resort type thing, for people with addictions to be able to come and to separate themselves from society, and so that I could share with them some of the things that I had learned about really getting to know yourself and loving yourself and being recognizing your value. And that kind of a space I have found to be really, really powerful for basically any kind of situation that you have in your life, to be able to break free from that. And so because I was emotionally connected to this in that moment, I decided I was going to be an addiction coach. And for about 2 years, I worked as an addiction coach. And I did create those retreats. I didn't have an actual resort like I had in my vision, and that might still happen at some point, but they were retreats. And I did, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these retreats, and probably over the course of 2 or 3 years, was able to really transform the lives of many, many people that were struggling with addictions. And so it was a time of joy for me in being able to help these people. And not only that, I learned skills. I gathered from them. I got information from them of what worked and what didn't. And it really helped me to choose into a belief that anything is possible. And without that step on my path, I don't feel like I would be as credible as a mentor right now. And I don't market myself as an addiction coach anymore. I'm a purpose coach, and I also help people. I help people get really clear with their purpose and to be in integrity with the highest and best version of themselves. And what I learned during that period of time when I was an addiction coach, it was super, super valuable. It was a skill that I was able to get under my belt so I can draw on that skill at any time. And I've learned that most of us have addictions. Most of us have things that we go to, that we compulsively go to when we feel like we're in kind of like survival mode. So it's super valuable that I had that. And because I'm not marketing myself as an addiction coach anymore, does that mean that I took myself way off base and I was way over on the other, in a path that was not connected at all to what I'm doing now? No, it was totally connected. It was a skill that I needed to learn. So what I want to share with you today is that when you can find something that you are emotionally connected, then you know enough to commit. You know enough to start taking action, to not just to start taking action, but to completely throw your heart and soul into it. To believe that this is your purpose, to believe that this is your vision that you're ultimately seeking for. And at some point, that may change. And that's okay, because every skill and every lesson that you learn on this path is going to take you even further and create more credibility and more skills for you as you continue on your path. So today, my invitation to you is to just set aside that fear of being locked in and choose to get locked in. Find what it is that you're emotionally connected by asking those questions. What do I want? And why is that important to me? And just keep asking, why is that important to me? And why is that important to me? And why is that important to me? And just keep asking until you get to a point where you can barely speak because you are so overcome by emotion. And I promise you, it is there, and it'll be bigger than you, and that's okay, because that's what brings the growth, right? I want to share with you something that plagued me forever until I figured it out, and I'm going to share with you what you need to do to figure it out, and that is that I don't want to miss out. So the problem is that I'm super creative, and I have a lot of opportunities, a lot of things that come up that that I might participate in. They're all really, really good causes to get behind, or really good things to participate in. And if I choose something and I move forward with it, if I know what my action step is, if I actually move forward with that, then there's like the opportunity cost, right? I have to give something up if I move forward with this one thing. And so a lot of times I would hold back. I wouldn't take action on something because I knew that if I took action on this, I wouldn't have the time to do something else. Or I would try to do it all and I would just be like super busy and never, not being really awesome in any one area, just kind of like mediocre in all the different areas. So that was a problem. So what I realized is that the solution to that is to know really within my heart which of those things was the most important for me to do, what was mine. And I want to share with you an activity that I did at one of our warrior camps. These were some retreats that I did for a couple of years to help people that were struggling with addiction. And one of the little exercises that we did was I broke them up into groups, and we had 3 different groups of people, so it was like 3 or 4 people per group. And I had 3 puzzles, and I dumped all the puzzles together in the middle of the table. And there was a lot of like gasps and, oh my gosh, how can you expect us to do this with all these puzzles put in the same place? Because all the puzzles were kind of the same shape and the same size, and they were similar, in the way that they looked. But what we found was everybody just kind of started digging through the puzzle and puzzles and like pulling the pieces, and this was a timed thing, and there was a prize for who got done first. And so they were digging through the puzzles and started finding the pieces that really looked like the puzzle that they were supposed to be putting together. And the other thing that I noticed was if they found a piece that wasn't theirs, they didn't just leave it sitting there. They actually tossed it over to the person who was creating that puzzle. So what we learned, what these people learned when they got done putting the puzzles all together, was that everybody got done about the same time. And it was interesting because when one got done, then they started helping the other teams. There was just this camaraderie that was created among all of them, which was something that I hadn't expected. And it was really cool. So what I learned from that, and from some of the comments that were made after we were done with this exercise, is that first of all, there are some pieces that look like your creation. There are some pieces amongst all this chaos. There are some pieces amongst all these different opportunities that we have that really do look specifically like the things that are ours, the things that are most important to us, and that we want to really give our time and really our life to, our purpose. So there are some things that are specifically ours. And then also there are some other things that belong to other people. And if I selfishly keep all of these different options, all these different opportunities, and think, well, if I do this, then I can't do this, so I'm going to hold on to all of them, then what I'm doing is I'm keeping those pieces that belong to somebody else, and they're not able to really see the full picture of their puzzle. So being able to take some of these opportunities, some of these ideas that I have, and throw them out to other people who maybe this really belongs to them. And you can call it delegating, you could call it, helping somebody else fulfill their purpose. But basically what it is we're living as a community. I'm putting my efforts into the things that are really mine, and then I'm offering other pieces that maybe I have access to. Maybe I'm a resource. Maybe one person is looking for a particular connection, and I know that person. And so rather than selfishly keeping that relationship to myself, I'm going to say, you know what? I can see that you guys should get together. I'm going to step out of the picture and I'm going to let you guys get together. So what's the solution to this idea that I'm going to miss out? If I go down one direction, then I'll miss out on the others. The solution to it is to really get clear with what your picture looks like. What is your creation? And then take those pieces. That is important for you to take action on those things, because that puzzle's never going to get completed if you don't take action on those. And then the other thing is, when you see other pieces that don't really belong to you, then start looking around. Who could this fit? If I am such a great creative person that I have tons of ideas, then it would really be helpful to the community if I share some of these ideas with people who it is their purpose. And then we get to all create together. We get to all fulfill our puzzle, our purpose all together, and get done at roughly the same time. And when I'm complete with mine, then I can reach out and I can help other people. So hopefully that helps you to be able to let go of some of those things that maybe don't belong to you. And this could be, ideas, or it could be even, you could walk around your house and maybe even see some things that are in your home that really don't belong to you. Like they stick out like a sore thumb. Maybe you kept it because, it was made by somebody who you care about, or, whatever reason that you're hanging on to that. But if it really doesn't fit, maybe there's another person's creation that it does fit. And so I invite you to play as a team, play as a community, fulfill your purpose and your mission and your puzzle, and help other people fulfill theirs. Hey, I want to talk to you about one of the reasons why people don't move forward. As we're discovering all the different reasons why we don't take action when we know what the next action step is. And this probably comes up quite often, as I'm working with my clients. And that is the belief that I'm going to sabotage myself anyway, so why try? And, that could take a lot of different forms. There can be a lot of different reasons why people think they might sabotage themselves, or they've got past experience of how they have gotten close to success, but then they got, right at the threshold of stepping in and something happened, or they stepped back, or, got scared or whatever. And so their past experience is telling them, don't even try, because you're never going to actually do it all the way. So what I want to talk about today, or what I want to share with you, is a process where you can break through that. The problem with having a belief like that I might as well not even try because I'm going to sabotage myself anyway, is that the belief stops us before we even start. We have no idea if the same thing is going to happen this time as happened like 5 times before. The fact that it is a pattern, that, it's happened several times, does really tell me that there's a belief at the root of it, something that is causing this to consistently happen. But like I said, the problem is that it stops us before we even start. And so what do? We force ourselves. We use our will. It's like, okay, I'm gonna just do it. And that kind of attitude obviously doesn't last very long. And because the root belief is still there, the belief always wins. So we can try and try and try, but as long as we have that belief, it's never going to go away. And the belief is going to dictate the outcome. Okay, so how do we get past that? Every day on my daily gratitude call, we do something that I call a breakthrough process. So I'm going to walk you through that today. And if you want to have me walk you through that every day, all you have to do is just get on the daily gratitude call. You can be there live, or you can join the podcast. I'll put a link to maybe like the iTunes podcast
but we're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, so all those different platforms. And all you got to do is just search my name or search Daily Gratitude Call, and you'll be able to find it. So if you want help with it every single day, if you want me to help walk you through that, you can join that. Or I'm going to share with you how to do that today on your own. And if you just write down the steps, then, or you can private message me and I'll send you the steps of how to do this. It's just a 3 or 4 step process. I'm not sure how many. I know for sure 3. We'll see if it's 4. Oh, let's say 4. There is a 4th step that I want to share with you. All right, so this is my fast process. There's a longer process that's more than 3 or 4 steps, but this one is something you can do every single day. And even in the moment, if you're feeling that, you don't have to wait for the next day to do this. You can do it anytime. So the first thing is to identify what the limiting belief is. So, we'll just use the one that we talked about today. I'm going to sabotage myself anyway, so why try? Okay, so I'm going to sabotage myself. That would be the limiting belief. And then what I want you to do is just examine the cost of having that limiting belief. Write it down, look at it, and say, if we know the law of attraction brings us everything that we focus on, what is this kind of a belief going to bring you? And the answer obviously is sabotage. You're never going to be able to follow through and finish any of those goals that you have. And if you do, use that force of will and actually do it, it's not going to last, because of course you have to sabotage yourself. You can't keep success. So obviously really heavy costs related to having this limiting belief. So the next step is to decide whether you want to keep that limiting belief or if you want to trade it in for something different. And it really is just a choice. And you might think in your head, well, I've got all this evidence that says that I do sabotage myself, so it feels true. Well, whether it feels true or not, what do you want to be true? And so you make the choice, do I want it to be true or do I want to choose something different? And I promise you, if you just try it, it will work. Okay, so just make that choice. That's the second step, is make the choice. And on my gratitude call, I always tell everybody, if you've made that choice and you're ready to move forward, just say yes. And they'll say an audible yes, because if you say it out loud, it makes it more real. Okay, so once you've chosen in to choosing a different belief, then the third step is to find some new beliefs, choose some new beliefs. And it can be anything you want to have happen. There's some kind of some rules or things that you want to follow. You want to keep it present. You don't want to say I'm going to be successful. You would want to say I am successful. And then start looking for evidence of where you have been successful. Were you successful in getting yourself up on time today? Were you successful in brushing your teeth after you ate breakfast? Find some evidence, even little tiny bits of evidence that shows that you that belief is true. So choose like 3 new beliefs. That's a good number to replace one new belief, is 3. So make sure it is present tense, like I am. Make sure that it is about you, that it's not about the other person. So like you wouldn't say my clients love me and they buy from me, okay? Because we can't control what our clients do. But you can say, I present my product in a very attractive way, okay? So I'm creating an atmosphere where my clients want to buy from me, okay? So choose 3 new beliefs. And then the 4th step that I'm going to share with you is receiving an action step, okay? And I almost said choosing an action step. But it's really important that with all of this process, with all of this breakthrough process, that you are going to intuition. Take a deep breath, ground yourself, step outside of that belief that I sabotage myself, and just be open to receiving what is new, what can be new for you today. Thank you, Laura. Interesting point, to choose 3 beliefs to replace 1. I've never learned that before. Yeah, it makes it more powerful to kind of overcome that one belief. So thank you. So again, when you're receiving that action step, you just close your eyes and just ask, what is the one most important thing that I can do today to really anchor in and find evidence that these new beliefs are either just as true or even more true than that old limiting belief that I sabotage myself. So asking that question, what is the one most important thing that I can do today to have evidence that these new beliefs are true? And a lot of times as I'm working with my clients, I call this your shortcut. What is your shortcut to getting through this new belief and actually getting onto a different path? And that action step will come to you. That shortcut will come to you. And I encourage you to trust it, to write it down immediately as it comes to you. And then as soon as you're done with your breakthrough process, that you take action on it. If it was to call somebody, if it was to read a passage of scripture, if it was to write a book, whatever it is, take action, get that ball rolling on that action step. Because when you exhibit 100% obedience towards the action steps that you're receiving, this is divine inspiration that you're getting that is a shortcut for you becoming more successful and getting past that limiting belief of sabotaging yourself. So honor that with me. I am learning a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about this question that seems to always plague us when we are resistant to move forward into leveling up, stepping out of our comfort zone into something new. And I think getting it out on the table and really having an understanding of it is the first step to fixing it. So I appreciate y'all staying with me, and I'm going to continue going even if I completely lose my voice. I'm going to keep going and sharing these with you. So I'll be with you tomorrow at 11 a.m. as well. Anyway, so thanks for joining me today. And the problem that we're looking at today is that the reason why I maybe don't take action is because I have too many distractions. Like I've got this to-do list that's 30 things long, and there's so many different things. And, we've already talked about priorities and stuff like that. But what I'm seeing with kind of the nuance of what I want to discuss today is that we wear many different hats. We're churchgoers, we're volunteers, we're moms, we're dads, we're kids, maybe kids of aging parents. We have hobbies that we like. We have clubs that we're associated with. I mean, there's so many different hats that we wear. And so then how do we kind of filter through all of that and get it all done? Be able to take action steps on something new amidst all these other things that we already have in our lives that are good things. And so what I have in the past for me, and I've noticed, in fact, I even read an email from one of my clients today and sent her back an email that usually what we do is we schedule it in. So we know what we need to do and we're committed to getting that done. And we know we have all these other things. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to get my calendar out. I'm going to schedule a time and we're just going to get it done. And a lot of times we make the quote mistake of saying, I'm going to do this every day, and it's going to be a habit and it's going to be awesome. And I did that with this Facebook Live. This was something new that I wanted to do. I scheduled it in 11 o'clock every morning, and I've been able to work things around and to do this. But I also knew that this was a key to launching my book, which for me, my book is one of the key pieces that teaches everything that I'm about. Everything that I teach as a mentor is in that book. So it was super important for me to get this Facebook Live scheduled. A lot of times the things that we choose to schedule in maybe are distractions. The email that I sent back to one of my clients today that I was mentioning before, I said, there's so many times when she has said, I'm going to schedule this and every day I'm going to do this. And I thought, gosh, you better be careful about how many things you schedule in a day. You're going to end up getting up before you ever go to bed because there'll be so many things that you want to do in a day. And I think we do that. We think we're superhuman. We think we can get everything done. by just scheduling it in. If I schedule it, then it'll get done. But that isn't necessarily the case. A lot of times, because we do have so many hats, and there are so many things that are pulling us in different directions, that we do need to choose. The problem with trying to schedule it all in is that then our time is all scheduled. And with the problem with having all of our time scheduled is that there's no time for inspiration, because inspiration comes when we least expect it. It comes at the most, a lot of times, most inopportune moments, but it's something that we need to act on right now. So I'm definitely an advocate of scheduling. Just like I said with, scheduling this Facebook Live at 11 o'clock, totally an advocate of that, with those things that are critical to getting done so that it takes you to your ultimate, not goals, that you have set, but your ultimate legacy that you're creating for yourself, your purpose, your passion, your mission, that vision that you have that's even bigger than you. So definitely schedule those things in, and then make sure that there is time set aside, not set aside, but just unscheduled. There's time during the day that's unscheduled that you can allow yourself to kind of shift things around so that if inspiration hits, then you have the time to be able to fit that in and to take action on those things. So I'm in the process of editing the final chapter of my book. It's super, super close to being done. It's still, after this first edit, it's actually going to go off to kind of a final edit for spelling and grammar. So it'll still be a couple of weeks before that's done, but it's almost done. And as I was working on that final chapter last week, the Gateway of Equity, this is the final chapter before you step into full integrity. The name of the book is The 7 Gateways to Integrity in Life and Business. And that is what I think the message of this Facebook Live is today, is that when you are in integrity, when what you've got scheduled on your books, what you are doing with your time, the volunteer efforts that you're making, the time that you're, the time and money that you're giving, and energy that you're giving to anything, is in full alignment with the highest and best person that you can be, and also in alignment with that purpose and mission that you are, the legacy that you are going to be leaving. I want to give you a special invitation to pre-order that book. Those who pre-order the book, there are a couple of special fun things that you get, and I'm not even going to share those with you on the call. You'll get an email from me when you pre-order that book, and it is a gift that I would like to invite you to give yourself, to have this information, to know what those 7 gateways are, to become fully in integrity with who you are at the highest and best, with your purpose, with that legacy that you want to leave. And when you do that, when you're in integrity, then there are no more distractions. Everything becomes either absolutely critical, necessary that it gets done, or it is a total distraction and it's urgent that you let it go. And there's no in between. It becomes so easy to make those decisions of what you keep and what you let go. This question of what's wrong with me? Why don't I take action when I know I should, when I know what to do? And today the thought came to me is because I don't want to. Especially, I've been sick the last few days, and there have been times when I'm like, you know what, I just don't feel like doing that. I just don't want to do it. And so I know that comes up occasionally, and maybe it's because we're too busy, maybe we just don't feel like it, or maybe it's something that we're really afraid of. Maybe we know the next step is something that's really big that takes us out of our comfort zone, and we just don't want to because it's scary. So whatever the reason, that idea of I don't want to can stop us from taking action on the things that we know that we should, or that we know that is going to be the next step to really taking us to where we want to be. So I kind of looked at that, and I saw it kind of as like a little kid throwing a tantrum in a grocery store. I'm sure either you're a parent and you've had, kids do that, or you've been in a store and you've felt for this parent who their child is doing that, throwing a tantrum. It's like, no, I don't want to, or I want to, and you won't let me. Either way, it's a rebel. It's like, putting my foot down and saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to. And sometimes the child will get its way, and sometimes it doesn't. It kind of, I think, a lot of times depends on the attitude of the parent, or the mood of the parent, or what's going on in the situation. Sometimes they do get their way, but I would say that it comes at a cost. A lot of times when we put down our foot and we're saying, nope, I'm not going to do it, there's a cost attached to it. With the child, maybe the child doesn't get invited to go back to the grocery store next time. Or maybe there's some privileges that are lost at home because of what happened in the grocery store. Really, when we put our foot down and rebel against something that we know is good for us, really what we're doing is we're creating more problems for ourselves. We're creating, in a sense, bondage, when what we're really trying to do is find freedom. And so that's what I wanted to just share with you today, is that when we know what is good for us, when we know what the next step is, and we're not taking action on that, and it's really just like putting our foot down and saying, I don't want to, then we're causing more problems for ourselves. We're making the road harder. We're creating obstacles that don't need to be there. We're slowing ourselves down. So in a sense, we are really taking away some of our freedom. So the opposite, really, what rebellion is like a counterfeit form of freedom. We think it's creating freedom for ourselves, but it's actually creating more problems. So the authentic form of freedom, which is what we're really after, is obedience. And when we obey, not out of sheer will or, okay, I'll do it, whatever, but when we obey, because we know this is going to actually create an easier road for us. If I take action on this, then the next step is going to be illuminated for me really quickly, and I'll be able to move on. And it's going to be a lot easier. I know it might sound scary, but if I just do it, I know that it's actually going to be an easier road for me. So when we obey those things that we know they're right, and we intuitively know they're right, and it's maybe an inspired step that we've been given, then we are creating more freedom for ourselves. We're creating an easier road, and just an easier life, and faster and shorter gestation time for us to accomplish what we want. So I would just invite you, if there is something that you have been really rebelling against, if there's something that you've been saying no to, when you know in your heart of hearts that if you say yes, things will actually be easier, that you look inside and find a reason why you can authentically give yourself to that, and obey that inspired next step that you have. And I know that it's going to create an easier road for you. I might get a little bit vulnerable here for you today, with you today. And so I hope that what I share with you will be helpful to you. I know it is a lesson that I learned a while back, and I feel like anybody who is stepping into something that is really powerful, that is going to leave a legacy, that's going to change the world, you're going to experience this at some point. And so I feel like it's going to be valuable to at least some of you. And so I appreciate you listening today. I appreciate you watching today. The question that came up today was, or the reason that came up today was because I'm afraid of what other people will think. And I know a lot of times we don't do this as like a conscious thought, but a lot of times there are some fears. If I step out of my comfort zone, if I do something different, and especially if I'm doing something different, not just for me, but if I'm doing something different than other people are doing, then especially there might be some people that give me feedback, and some of those people might be people that I care about and that I think care about me. And a lot of times that feedback does come because they care about us and they don't want to see us get hurt. The problem with having this fear about, worrying about what other people are going to think is we hold back, we hide. We're not really willing to step out there and say, here I am, this is my message, this is my story, this is what I want to share with the world, and this is who I am. We're not willing to do that. And for me, and this is where I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable, because a lot of people know me and some of the past decisions that I've made, and you'll probably be able to put two and two together and kind of figure this out. But for me, I had this fear that I was afraid of what other people were going to think. And for years, like through my whole employment history, through all of my business endeavors and things like that, I was always the right-hand guy. I was always the second in command, and I liked it that way because I was not the one out front that was getting the arrows, was getting the people, giving feedback of, I don't like what you're saying, what you're doing, whatever. And I was always kind of the one in the background that was the support person. And for me, that felt really safe. So that was my way of not taking action on things, on my own message, on my own cause, because I wanted somebody else to take the arrows. Now, how cowardly is that? Because once I realized what I was doing, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like a coward. So that is kind of what I found is like the solution to my problem was I'll get behind a cause and I'll do something good, but I'll make sure that somebody else is in front of me so that I don't have to be the one, that people are yelling at if they don't like what I'm doing. Okay, so what happened where this kind of came to a head was there was some feedback to that person at the time that I was really supporting. I was putting all of my efforts into helping him create his events, his programs, his cause, his message, spread his message. And it was a really good one. It was a good place for me to be and a good thing to support. The problem was that I had my own message and I had my own cause. And that there was a time when even people who were friends were throwing these arrows, were shooting these arrows. And not only did the person who was in the forefront, receive those arrows, but this was such a huge barrage of arrows that when I stood up to support, I began receiving those arrows as well. And if this were my message, if it were my cause, those arrows wouldn't have hurt because I and God know what my message is. I and God know that what I'm doing is right, and this is my path, this is my purpose, and this is my legacy that I'm leaving. The reason why they hurt was because that was when I realized that I had been hiding, that I had been pushing this person in front of me, saying, you go take the arrows, and I will just kind of stand back here and support, and I'll pretend like I'm doing something really good. And I was, but it wasn't my message that I knew I was supposed to be doing, sharing. So that, I'm really super grateful for that situation that happened, because that's when I realized that this is not my message. This is not my purpose. It's really good and it's awesome, but it's not mine. And so I did all that I could to help to kind of stay with that situation until everything kind of smoothed over. I didn't jump ship right in the middle of that because I did help to create it. But as soon as I felt like everything was back on calm waters and it was an appropriate time for me to do that, I went off and started creating my own thing. And this time I was in the forefront. I was the one that I felt like, okay, if I'm going to get some feedback, then I want it to be for my stuff. And you know, that's been, I don't know how long it's been, probably close to a year ago. And I felt so good. I've never felt so powerful. I've never felt so confident in just getting up every day and knowing that I'm doing something good. And I do get feedback from people, and I love it. The feedback is really awesome. It helps me to improve who I am. It kind of is a mirror for me so that I can look inside and say, okay, is this feedback valid? And if it is valid, then I get to make some changes, and it just makes me better. So with this question of, you know, why don't I take action when I know what's next? This reason of because I'm afraid of what people will say, I'm afraid of what other people will think. I'm just going to just tell you right now that that is a false reason. It's not something that is even, you know, when it happens, it's actually a good thing. If it is you that is stepping out on your own purpose, your own mission, your own legacy. So if that's what you're doing, I encourage you to just stop it and just do something different. So the solution to all of this is to come out of hiding. Embrace who you are. Believe that if you are inspired to take this next step, then this is the perfect next step for you. And yes, you're going to get feedback. And the feedback is going to be awesome because it is specifically directed at you. And then you get to take that feedback and look inside, and you, because it's your message, and you and God know that this message is, you know, what it's supposed to be, or what this thing is that you're creating is supposed to look like. You're the only one that really knows what that looks like, you and God. And so you can take that feedback and look inside and say, is this valid? Is it something that will help me to improve? And if it is, then you can thank that person for the feedback, make that change, and then move forward powerfully. If it's not, then it's usually a problem with the other person. The feedback that they gave you was probably because you're stepping up and they're not. And it's like, don't leave me behind. You need to come back down here. I'm a crab in the bucket. And if it is their problem, then if you have a really good relationship with that person, you could possibly invite them to come with you. And, you know, maybe offer to have them come on our gratitude call or something so that they can start changing their attitude. But if it's not, if you don't have that kind of a relationship with that person, then you can just love them and just totally release it and just say, you know what, thanks for sharing. I actually know my path, and this is what feels right for me. So I definitely appreciate your concern and your care. And I've kind of looked at it and taken it into consideration, and I'm going to do it this other way. So thanks anyway. So have the courage to step out on your own. Do what you're inspired to do. And just know that that is the best thing for you to do right now. And as soon as you take that next step, then the next step is going to be illuminated for you. And the cool part about doing your own thing and knowing what you're supposed to be doing is that, again, you and God are really the only one who knows that. You're going to, what it looks like, you're going to be inspired on a daily basis. And for other people, it might look like you have no clue what you're doing. It might look like you're this rabbit kind of running around and you have no idea where you're headed. But really what you're doing is you're changing direction based on the inspiration that you're receiving on a daily basis. So just have the courage, step out, get out of hiding, take that step and see what's next for you. That if I take action, then I won't know what's next. And I know that sounds really crazy, but I experienced this before. For years, I would have a list of things to do, and I would never get done with the list. And there was some sort of limiting belief behind there that if I got everything done in my life, in my day, whatever, then there was no reason for me to be here on earth, and I would just die. It was totally a limiting belief, totally subconscious, not something that I, consciously was like, oh, I'll die if I check everything off my list. But that's the way it felt. And I think what that stemmed from was when I have a list to do, or when I know what the next thing is, and this is a really good thing to do, then I feel important. I feel useful. I feel like, I've got something really amazing to do. And even as crazy as it sounds, if I don't get it done, then I'm always going to be useful. I will always have something really important to do. So the problem with that is that those things don't get done, and the results that would manifest from getting that thing done never manifests. And that's what causes kind of craziness when we keep doing the same thing over and over and we're never getting the results that we want. So I'm going to encourage you that the solution to this problem is to always, every day, be asking, what is my next most important step? Who is the person that I get to serve today? Who is in most need of what I have to offer? Asking these specific questions of the universe, of God, and listening for those answers, you're always going to be having a new something important to accomplish that day. And even if the answer you get doesn't feel like anything really that important, it really is. If it's coming to you as intuition, it's super important. I'm going to give you an example of an item that came to me when I asked that question, what's the most important thing for me to do today? And this was probably, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And I was going through a period of time where I was feeling a little bit depressed. And it seemed like it didn't matter what I did. I just couldn't get out of this funk. And that's not really typical for me. I usually am a pretty positive person. This was actually, no, it must have been more than a couple of years ago, because it was before we started doing our gratitude call. Because I don't think I've ever gone for a long period of time in that lower vibration since we started our gratitude call. Anyway, one day I sat down to do my daily GPS, which is my direction finder for the day. I'm just asking these specific questions. What's the most important thing for me to do today? And who do I get to serve? And, all those things, specific questions. And the answer that came to me, the thought that came to me was, move your office upstairs. My office had been in the basement and it was all set up. I loved it. But that was the instruction for that day, was to move my office upstairs. And that's not something that you can just in 5 minutes do. And I actually needed some male help. I have 3 daughters. And so I had to get on Facebook and just ask for some people to come and support me with that. They moved my very heavy all wood desk upstairs and moved all the guest room stuff downstairs. So now our guest room is downstairs and my office is upstairs. And it was totally amazing that very day, because now I was in the light, I was up on the main floor, I wasn't in the basement, I had a window right by me, and I started feeling better that very day. So that really told me that, first of all, God has his eye on me. He knew what I needed, and he knew even better than I did what I needed. And so when I asked that question, I know I can take action immediately, because I know that inspiration is coming to me from somebody who cares about me and has their eye on me and knows what my goals are and what I need to accomplish them. And then the second thing that it did was it helped me realize that I can accomplish those inspired next steps that day. That's usually something that I would probably have to schedule out, like, we'll do this 2 weeks from Saturday. But I did it that day and I accomplished it. I was able to get the help that I needed. Everything worked out, everything happened. And I even was able to get somebody to come over and kind of feng shui my new office so that it felt really good and light for me. And it worked. So that is my challenge to you today, that if you've been holding off taking those action steps because you're thinking, well, if I take that action step, then I won't have anything on my list that's super important. And then maybe that means I'm not important, or maybe I won't get a next step. And I'll just be kind of like in limbo. Well, that won't happen. If you make a practice every single day of asking, what's the most important next step for me today? And I even call it my shortcuts. What is my shortcut today to finishing my goal? What is my shortcut today to living the life of my dreams? What is the shortcut today to being of influence in the world? Whatever it is that you're wanting. And if you ask that question, you will get an answer, and it will be an answer that you can take action on that day. And even if you can't finish it completely, you will be able to get the ball rolling, and it will be on its way to completion. So that's my challenge for you today. And I appreciate you joining me for these 11 days, but the first day was kind of an introduction. So 10 days of finding reasons why we don't take action when we know what those next steps are. So I invite you to go back and review these, really check in and say which ones of these are really plaguing me, which ones are stopping me from taking action today, and then grab on to those answers and take action, because I know that you can do it. And I trust God, I trust my intuition, I trust my ability to be able to follow through with those next steps. And I personally commit to taking action on those things that I know are important for me to do. So thank you for joining me. If you would like to reach out to me, you can always find me on my website, WileenBenson.com. Just go to the contact page and email me. I would love to hear from you. And if you have any questions about what we've discussed here, I would love to answer those questions for you. Thank you so much for joining me.